Hello, my name is Ziad Rajabi, and today I'm going to show you how to grab content from a Word document based on styles. So let's imagine I have a document, in this case called input, which contains a bunch of text and some tables. So I have two tables in this document. Here's the first table, and here's the second table. You'll notice that some of the content here has special formatting applied. Well, in my case, I have styles applied to this document. So in this case here, heading content contains a heading 1 style. My galleries content here, which looks slightly blue, contains a intense emphasis style. And similarly with my table, I have a specific style applied to this. In this case, the style applied here is called light light accent 1. Actually, both my tables have the same style applied. So let's say, for example, I have a scenario where I want to grab content based on whether or not the content has that's a specific style or not. So in other words, I'm using styles to add semantic structure to my document. So let's say, for example, I want to grab all the content in my document that contains a heading 1 style. So I want to grab this content, as well as this content. Or similarly, I can say grab all tables with a specific style. So in this case, it would be grabbing me these two tables here. Well, how do I do that? This is what I'm going to show you today, and I'm going to use the Open XML file formats and the Open XML SDK to show you how to do this. So the first thing you'll notice is I created here a project, and this project here contains a reference to the Open XML file format SDK, and this is called document format .openxml. And in my project here, I also have references to my two main namespaces. One is called packaging, which allows me to open up the document, and word processing, which allows me to manipulate or get access to the main Word document content. So in my particular case, there's a couple things I want to do. One is I want to grab content based on a style. Well, if I have the style name, I need to know the style ID. So to show you what I mean by that is, let's go ahead and open this document up to see the XML. So right now I'm using Visual Studio Office Tools to actually open this up within Visual Studio. And you'll notice here my heading content has a heading 1 style. And my galleries content contains a intense emphasis style. So one thing to note is the name of the style here is actually the ID of the style. So what I mean by that is, if you go to the styles part, you can go and find those particular styles. So in this case, here's the heading 1. Notice that it's a style ID whose name is actually heading space 1. Similarly, if I go find my intense emphasis, here's the ID with no space, and the name is actually the intense emphasis with a space in there. Alright, so now that we know how these styles are stored in the file format, let's go figure out how to actually go grab access to these things. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a method here called getStyleID from style name. So essentially, I'm just getting at the style ID based on the style name. I'm going to pass in the main document part, which contains references to everything in my document, and the actual style name. So once I have the main document part, I can then grab access to the styles definition part. That's the part that contains all the styles within my document. And let's actually open this up in full view mode so we can take a better look at this. Alright, now once I have access to the styles part, it's pretty easy, once I know how to use my link query here, to get the style ID from the name. So in this particular case, I'm going to open up the style part, go find all the style names whose style name is actually equal to the style name I'm looking for. Then once I find the style name, I'm going to select the style ID based on the style name and get the first one. And I know in my document I only have one style ID based on a style name. So at this particular point, I have returned the style ID. Pretty simple query here, and if my query returns nothing, I'm just going to return back the style name as a failsafe. Alright, now let's get to the fun. I had paragraphs with styles, I had runs of text with styles. So the paragraph was the heading 1 style, the runs of text was the intense emphasis, and then I had the table style. Well, I'm going to show you how to grab content for each of these three content types, paragraphs, runs, and tables, based on the style name. So here I'm going to create an extension method off of my main part, and I'm going to show you how this is actually used a little bit later. But I'm going to create a method here called paragraphs by style name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my main document part once I've gotten access to the style ID, right? So this is the method I had showed you guys before. Grab the main document part, find all paragraphs whose paragraph, and I create a method here called isParagraphInStyle. Let's go jump to that real quick to see what that looks like. So pass in the style ID and the paragraph. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab access to the paragraph properties. Once I have access to the paragraph properties and it exists, I'm going to go check for the paragraph style ID. And if the paragraph style ID exists, I'm going to see if that paragraph style is referencing the same style ID that I found based on the style name. And if that returns true, I'm going to go ahead and add that to my IEnumerable list of paragraphs within my paragraph list. And once I'm done iterating through the entire main document part, I'll have returned an entire list of paragraphs whose style is equal to the style name that I sent over to the method. Now, that was pretty easy for paragraphs. How do you do this for runs and tables? Well, you'll notice that it's almost exactly the same thing, except instead of using paragraphs, I'm going to use runs. So here is my runs by style name. Same construct here for the same method. Instead of paragraphs, I'm going to pass in a run. And then I'm going to have create a new method here called isRunInStyle, which is the same method that I had for isParagraphInStyle. Same concept, except this time I'm using run properties and run styles. And you guessed it, yep, tables are exactly the same thing. So instead of runs and paragraphs, you use tables. So pretty easy stuff. And what's even easier is, since I've written all this stuff as extension methods by using this main part here, all I have to do to call these methods is simply get access to my main document part. And in this class, this is my main method here. And off of main part, I'm just going to write it here so you can see what I'm talking about. Off of my main part, I'm going to have my extension methods directly in here. So if I wanted to find all the paragraphs, here it is, paragraphs by style name. This is the extension method I wrote. You'll see it's an extension. And this will get me back a list of paragraphs with a particular style name. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete this because I've already written this before. And what I've done is I'm going to open up my input document, right? And I'm going to look for my heading 1, my intense emphasis, and my light list accent 1 in my document. So you'll notice I had 2 tables with that content, and I had several paragraphs with the heading 1. And I forgot exactly how many intense emphasis I had, but I had quite a few. So let's go ahead and run that. And running this is going to show me that I have 3 paragraphs, 6 runs, and 2 tables. So I just showed you a quick, simple way to get access to the main content of your document based on styles. Hopefully this helps in one of your solutions. And again, my name is Ziad Rajabi. Thank you.